They say love is the highest form of connection, but under pressure, the same bond that heals us can also break us. Every year, across cultures and decades, people lose themselves inside relationships that begin with warmth and end in silence. This isn't a story about villains or victims. It's about what happens when affection becomes obsession, when fear replaces trust, and when two people forget where one ends and the other begins. Through 3 real pattern stories, we'll look at how ordinary emotions can twist into extraordinary tragedy, and what psychology reveals about the fragile line between love and control. In the mid-1990s, a young couple in a quiet coastal city seemed inseparable. He was charismatic and ambitious. She admired his confidence. Friends described them as perfect together. But beneath that perfection lived constant correction, small comments about her clothes, her friends, her tone. At first she called it attention. Later, she called it tension. Psychologists refer to this pattern as covert control, the slow erosion of autonomy disguised as care. Each boundary that disappears feels like compromise, but over time, compromise becomes confinement. When she finally tried to leave, he felt something worse than heartbreak: identity collapse. To him, separation meant erasure. In that fragile state, logic vanished, and the relationship ended in irreversible loss. What matters isn't the scene itself, it's the mindset that led there, the belief that love can only survive through ownership. Attachment theory calls it anxious entrapment, when fear of abandonment turns affection into surveillance. It's why jealousy texts aren't about information, they're about reassurance. And when reassurance runs out, control takes its place. A decade later, across the world, another pair built their life online. They posted travel photos, matching outfits, long captions about forever. Underneath the filters, both were quietly competing for followers, for admiration, even for moral superiority. When a secret surfaced, a financial lie, the public image shattered. He felt humiliated. She felt exposed. What happened next became a cautionary headline. Psychology calls this the ego threat response. When someone's sense of worth depends on how others see them, betrayal feels like public extinction. Instead of grief, the brain releases adrenaline. It looks like rage, but underneath is shame, the most intolerable human emotion. Shame says, if they see the truth, I'll disappear. And when a person can't bear to disappear, they may try to erase the reminder, the partner who witnessed their weakness. Social psychologists have found that people with fragile self-esteem are more likely to externalize blame after betrayal. It's not evil, it's avoidance. Owning the pain would mean admitting imperfection, and for some that's unthinkable. So they build a story where the other person becomes the villain. Once that story hardens, empathy dies. And where empathy dies, danger grows. Our final story takes place in recent years. A couple who began as college sweethearts. She studied psychology. He studied engineering. Their friends remember long debates about philosophy, late-night plans for the future. After graduation, stress replaced curiosity. Bills, distance, unmet expectations. He withdrew into work. She withdrew into resentment. When they finally reunited, it wasn't to rebuild, it was to argue over everything that had died in silence. That confrontation became their last. Clinically, this pattern is called emotional flooding, when two nervous systems overwhelm each other until reasoning shuts down. In relationships high in flooding, cortisol levels remain elevated even hours after a conflict. That's why partners describe feeling possessed by anger or panic. They're not exaggerating. The body literally believes it's in danger. In trauma psychology, this is the fight for connection paradox. The same person who once felt like safety now triggers the survival response. When neither partner has tools to downregulate that stress, confrontation becomes catastrophe. It's not sudden, it's accumulated. Years of small unspoken hurts, unprocessed shame, and quiet loneliness converge in one irreversible instant. What connects these stories isn't cruelty, it's confusion. All 3 began with love and ended with fear, because fear is love's shadow. Every controlling partner once feared losing someone, Every vengeful act began as humiliation. Every silence after an argument hides a nervous system still screaming for safety. Human beings don't destroy what they hate. They destroy what they can't control. That's why control feels comforting. It promises predictability in a world that keeps changing. But when control replaces compassion, relationships stop being mirrors and become prisons. The lesson is not never love. It's never confuse possession with protection. Neuroscience tells us that intense romantic attachment activates the same reward centers as addiction. Dopamine, oxytocin, cortisol. Chemistry built to bond can also bind. In balance, those chemicals create connection. In excess, they create dependence. That's why heartbreak can feel like withdrawal. It's the brain detoxing from its favorite drug. If you've ever felt panic when someone pulls away, or anger when they disagree, remember, those feelings aren't warnings about them. They're reflections of old survival maps inside you. Maybe someone once left without explanation, or love was earned only through performance. Whatever the origin, the pattern repeats until it's recognized. Therapists call this repetition compulsion, the unconscious urge to replay past wounds, hoping for a different ending. It's why people leave one toxic partner only to find another with a different face, but the same script. Awareness breaks the loop. Because when you name the pattern, you stop being the pattern. Reading these tragedies isn't about morbid curiosity. It's about compassion. For the victims, yes, but also for the minds that lost themselves before the act. When empathy widens, judgment softens, and prevention becomes possible. That's the real purpose of studying dark psychology. Not to fear people, but to understand the invisible storms they carry. Somewhere tonight, a couple is arguing in whispers behind a closed door. One feels unheard, the other feels unappreciated. Neither knows how close they are to repeating a pattern older than history. But knowledge changes outcomes. If they pause long enough to feel their fear before acting on it, if they breathe instead of react, they alter the trajectory. Because love doesn't turn deadly in a moment, it erodes through moments. Every time we choose pride over presence, silence over honesty, control over curiosity, we move one step closer to disconnection. And disconnection is where the mind invents its monsters. Nietzsche once said, "He who fights monsters must take care that he does not become one." In relationships, that means this. When you try to fix someone through power, you lose yourself in the process. Real strength is restraint. Real love is allowing difference. And real safety comes not from control, but from trust. So the next time you see a story like these and wonder how love could end that way, remember, the answer isn't hidden in the event. It's written in the emotions that led to it. Fear, shame, dependency, pride. These are the architects of tragedy. But awareness, empathy, and healing are the architects of change. If this story made you see relationships a little differently, subscribe to Twisted Lens, where we explore the psychology behind what people do and what it teaches us about who we are. Because understanding darkness doesn't make us darker. It helps us finally see the light.